It's The Lesson with Mr. Clark on Lake Effect Radio.
You gonna learn today. You gonna learn today. All right, all right, all right.
Got to turn the mics on, so we're going to start that all the way over. Hey, happy Monday or whatever day it is when you decide to listen to it. This is Mr. Clark in the studio with Miss G Girl, Miss E. Cherie, and we're back for episode number 13. That's right. And I wanted to troubleshoot before we even get into the show. So we're going to go into our new segment this week, the book club. We're going to go over the 4 agreements, and you have an opportunity to win a copy of the book for yourself. So like, subscribe, or comment below the YouTube video for a chance to win, and I'll definitely contact you about shipping it to you or bringing it to you if you're a resident of Cleveland. And with that being said, how are you guys doing this week?
Pretty good.
I know you're doing great.
Yeah.
You gonna tell them?
I'm gonna say something.
She got to see.
I did get to see the queen.
A queen. There's a lot of them.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of them, but this is the queen.
Okay, you
the
giving her that?
queen bee. She's the queen bee.
Yes, she is.
She put it down. She put it down real strong.
I ain't want to watch. She sent me a clip. I ain't want to watch it. I'm
You
like,
should watch
no,
the clip.
I'm gonna wait till June 14th.
It'll be exciting.
And then I'll watch it.
It'll be very exciting.
I need to see it. I need to have it in my, I need to be fresh. I already done watched Lemonade, so I know it's going to be a lot of, but apparently she changing the show, set list.
Really?
In different cities
well,
and
I'm
stuff
gonna,
like that.
okay. Well, I'm going to say that some of the critiques that daughter and I talked about were that the playlist wasn't to her expectations. She said she still had a really great time, but she thought that some of the songs that she felt would be on the roster were not.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, she said she had a great time. Now me, I had a great time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you wasn't looking for no specific songs, and she was looking for a specific song.
Well, I will say this. I could tell you that once I left and I kind of, revisited the show in my head, I said, oh, she didn't sing that. Oh, okay. Well, that's to her credit, because if I didn't know it then she did okay.
Right.
She did. So I was pleased with it.
Entertained?
Yes, very entertained. The whole show was very exciting. It was much like what I experienced in, the kind of concerts that I like MC Hammer, Janet Jackson kind of production. It was like that. So she lived up to my expectations. I give her kudos for that.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss E? What's happening with you?
Working, but I've been good.
Day and night.
Yeah.
This semester ended, so I'm feeling awfully good.
This semester been kind of a hard grind.
It's been interesting.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. I think that for any and each of us, we had our challenges to just kind of grind it on out to get to the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that, without further ado, we're just gonna jump straight into the segment, people. So this week's teachable moment is kind of in honor of our good girl. Well, not a good girl, our bad girl, Tiffany Pollard, also known as New York. So did you guys catch it? If you haven't been watching, VH1 has a show called Family Therapy. And New York, also known as Tiffany Pollard,
I remember her.
Is
I didn't know that was her name.
Tiffany Pollard?
Yes.
She used Tiffany Pollard to do her college tours, lectures.
Oh.
She said, no, Tiffany gonna get this money.
Okay,
We're gonna leave New York on TV.
Okay, Tiffany.
But she was speaking to young girls and motivating them, and she actually had a cool little message. If
Okay, I'm listening.
I mean, she's still two people, like the duality of life, the wretched royal. So she turned it off.
The wretched royal. I love it.
And she got a college degree, so I know. I feel she said it herself. Like, she knew who she had to be for TV.
Okay.
To get the money. And
that's interesting.
It's a component of herself, but at the same time, she would prefer not to have to be all of that. And that came out in the Family Therapy show, that she just wished that she could be chiller. But her mom is just so far off the chain. So there's an episode where she feels like she's having a baby, and the mother's like, if you had a baby, I'm taking a baby. You're not responsible enough. And then
How old is she?
Tiffany Paller is 34.
And her mother gonna do what?
Take her baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her mother's always been like, I was introduced to her during
I Love New York.
No, Flavor Flav.
Okay. She was extra then too. She's been extra for a long time.
And then that's when she had her own I Love New York, and then now this.
Oh, okay.
But on the Flavor Flav show, her mom was crazy on that show against Flav because she didn't like.
She didn't
Flav.
approve.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah.
I know about craziness of not approving. I understand
I
that concept.
I know that story.
Yes. I stand by it 100%.
Hey.
But I think what I took away from it when I saw her was that it started to make sense, like who New York was. And so that's my lesson. Oftentimes, we don't acknowledge people's backgrounds to make us understand who they are now. So that was something I wanted to pull out. Like, if you feel like someone's doing a certain thing, well, maybe you should ask them, how was your childhood this way? How was that way? Or maybe they told you already and you didn't necessarily dig into that conversation and interpret and analyze, oh my God, this is a direct root of that. And it would behoove me to, as a person who's going to be in their life, to try to find a way to accommodate or bring them out of whatever. Like, that's a moment you had and now you should come forward. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I do, but see, I guess in my my wiser self now, that's too much work.
It is too much work, depending on who the person is. Like, I ain't doing that for any and everybody.
When you're talking about being in a relationship with somebody and you're talking about for all the marbles and ride or die, that may turn out to be too much work because we are who we are, and only person that can change themselves is the person.
True.
Yeah.
But it was just I wanted to read what I had. So acknowledging that some people's ways are directly related to their upbringing and treating them accordingly. This also plays into if people don't ask you about your childhood or past, do they really care about you? And if they did get it and they don't understand it, that's the significant part of if they care or not. And I always tell people, like, would they ask you where you work? Did they ask you what your goals are? Did they ask you about your relationship with well, they don't really like you for real. I mean, they into you in whatever way, sexually. But, like, and if that's what that relationship is, let that be what that relationship is. But understand in the beginning, if they not asking them questions, they not interested in having a real life with you.
It's called a checklist.
Sure.
If you got a checklist, then you can minimize or even eliminate the possibility of going down a road with somebody that you're not compatible with.
Right.
And most everybody, if not everybody, should have a checklist. You should have deal breakers.
Right.
You should have a checklist, and deal breakers should be on it. And you should have your list of things that are deal breakers, and you should acknowledge and write down or commit or embrace to you what's important. Because if the person that you're talking with, regardless of background, or not even regardless, but as part of their background or upbringing or experiences, don't fit into that for you, it's not going to work.
Right.
I have a question about, like, I know what a deal breaker is. I don't know if some people know what a deal breaker is because they'll say XYZ is a deal breaker for me, but they're still with the person that does that.
Right. Well, see, that's the problem. They got with the person and didn't go through the checklist first.
Right.
So.
And so they're wondering, like, why they're having problems. And it's like, well, this keeps coming up. This is going to keep coming up. This has been coming up since the 6 years y'all been together. That person isn't going to change.
Right.
And if you're moving forward in the relationship to where you're married to that person, it's going to be that way too.
Right. So either you have come to a conclusion that is no longer a deal breaker. It can't be a deal breaker if you continue to allow it. It can't be a deal breaker. You have allowed that to go by the wayside. It's not a deal breaker anymore. You know, and so you move on into areas of the relationship. Like if you're going to get married, And then it is what it is. And so that's on you.
We'll bring that topic up later in book club because I had a note. Because the whole concept of forgive and forget is like, we need to talk about that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I necessarily understand it or if I have a different perspective of what I consider that to be. It's just interesting. I just don't know. I just don't get it. I need a definition for it at this point because I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that feeling is. And then the other part of teachable moments that kind of plays into the upbringing and if people are actually taking into account where you're from and how that plays into you, who you are. I need for people at the age of 30 and even in your mid 20s, you cannot, at this point, you cannot blame your parents for who you are. And if you decide to give your parents credit for who you are, understand that that's a choice too. It's just we don't acknowledge that as being something bad to give your parents credit because you were the success. But it's definitely something bad if you're doing terrible and you still blaming your parents. So whether you're doing great or you're doing terrible, at this point in your life, you should have an understanding about yourself to where, regardless of what happened, I'm making better decisions now. So I just want to throw that out there because, you know, at times, not even making this personal, but I've had people in my life or friends in my life that made me act a certain way. And I realized you cannot keep, it's me, it's them, or it's you. like, no, that's you. That ain't got nothing to do with this, that, and the third, because we done moved, we ain't been in that house in I don't know how long. Mm-hmm. So I be telling people, like, you need to cut that out, because I refuse for you to be still kicking it with me at 35, and you talking about your mama still pulling the same stunt on you. I'm like, well, why you ain't been separate, like Tiffany Pallard? Like, you had your mama on the show, you got her money, you got your money. Why is it still an issue? Mm-hmm. And as a parent, and I want to kick this to Gina, mm-hmm. You've experienced both being a child of a parent who may have made great decisions or maybe bad decisions based on what generation you was raised in. Maybe it worked for her as a lesson, but it didn't necessarily work for you. And maybe you've made those same choices. So do you find yourself analyzing certain things you've given her and wish you hadn't and knew she would be a better person? Or have you found yourself analyzing your upbringing like, I probably would have been a better or worse person had I not got? And I want to caveat that you don't have to get personal or anything.
Oh, those are great.
Course.
Those are great questions. I think those are questions that everybody should ask themselves.
I know as children we all go, I would be this if, but I wonder, do parents actually ask themselves or scald themselves like, I wish I hadn't?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, so let me go to part one. Part one about myself. Yeah, I looked at the way I was brought up, and I think you made a good point about making decisions. I made a clear choice that I was not doing some things. That was not going to happen. And you're a product of your environment. So I made some of the same mistakes, even though I said I wasn't. But I also knew that I needed to get back on track, and it's free will. So, in that respect, I just navigated my way to where I wanted to be and, had a mission and had some objectives to get there. I could use school as one thing. I mean, and you talk about generation stuff. In my family, after you got out of high school, everybody went and got a government job. Government job, paid a lot of money, had great benefits. And for as long as I could remember, it took care of families and their family needs. So all you needed was your job. It didn't matter if that job was the city, the county, the state, the fed, whatever. You went and got that job. And I was fortunate enough to have a grandparent who stressed education. And so, my first inclination was not to get my job, even though I did do that. I still did the dual thing and went to school. because I knew that that would help me have additional choices. That would help me get that much further. I believe that, even though I still did what my family did, it was still in the cycle. I still did the same thing. That is what I chose to do. Now, for that, sometimes you get cast as the outliers, the black sheep, because you're not the uppity one, right? The one who not doing what everybody else is doing. And, I had trouble with that. But at some point in time, as you get older, you embrace that. Now, with my own child, there were things that I decided that I would do, and that's things that I decided that I wouldn't do. Now, one of those things was that I'm very adept to street life. Let's just say that. I know how to handle myself in the street because I lived in communities and neighborhoods where you have to know how to handle yourself in the street. And
that bus rider face.
That's correct. That Trinity the Matrix walking down the street. Look.
Please don't do it.
Okay. Please do it. Please do it. I want you to. Okay. And that is something that I chose not to pass on in terms of daughter.
Oh, okay.
I chose that.
That's interesting.
I did, even though I know that may very well be helpful in a many a situation. I felt that I had gotten myself in some environments, in particular circles, that would not require what I knew.
Right.
And therefore would not require her to know those things. Now, turns out I was not all the way correct about that. But I do not regret that. I was not correct about that. And so when she found herself in a situation where she may have needed to be a little more rougher or a little more aggressive, that was not really her thing. She really didn't know perhaps how to really come at a situation. And so what I'm grateful for is that she could come to me and I could tell her how to handle it. Now, because she's daughter and she listens, she'll go do it because of the way I said to do it.
Right.
It may seem sideways and I may get a little pushback, but I would say this is going to be the result. If you want this result, then you have to do this. If you want that result, then you have to do this. If you don't do this, then this is what the result will be. She liked my results better, so she would carry out what I, advise her on. So yeah, that's something that I did not advise her on, and it's something that I did not introduce her on. And my take on it was more of a safety kind of thing. Be safe, make good decisions, but it wasn't like, and if somebody do something, you bleep somebody up, because that's what I know how to do. But I didn't pass that on. And so she's still I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I'm all right with that. Do I think I made could I have done better? I think I did what I was supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up for everybody who may be struggling with stepping out of their circle or their circumstances. Because at the end of the day, it was all you knew. But at 20, it shouldn't be all you know. So those who know better, who do better, just be confident enough in yourself to take that leap.
I was coming here today and I was thinking about who I was when I was 20, and I was laughing hysterically because it was rough around the edges. And it was what I had grew up knowing how to do. But I did realize that I wanted to know more and I wanted to do things differently. And that didn't mean that I had to leave behind what was part of me.
Which is a totally different conversation for another week.
What happens is people think that because you're doing different things, that means that you're leaving them behind. It's not necessarily that. You might be leaving behind some of the stuff you used to do, but you're not leaving them behind.
Right. And with that, I want to play this song. It's a really cool one. It's an old school song.